Alrighty, so hey guys, jumping into our next kind of post-World War II, middle of the Cold War lesson. So today we're going to be looking at the partition of India, and kind of how that kind of also then mixes in with post-colonialism and the move for independence. So this recording should be a pretty short one, just because some of the work that you're going to be doing here independently after you complete this warm-up, pretty straightforward on that one. You're just naming or drawing a couple of the causes of the Cold War, so we can do a little bit of quick review. The first thing that we're going to be trying to accomplish here is just the general flow of events that happens to get India to a point where independence is going to occur after World War II. The way that you're going to be doing that is through something called a story map. It's a kind of a cool technology that takes you kind of around a different place, in this case a lot of India, because you're going to be tracing really the movement of Gandhi and some of the bigger kind of moments that he's going to shape in decolonization. So what you're going to do here is you're going to click on this icon that says story map right over here, and then once you do that, you are going to follow around. There's lots of links to click on in the text. Make sure you read it. I really need you to understand Gandhi's role in what India's decolonization and independence was. And again, you can only do that through this source. And then once you do that, I want you to post here what you believe Gandhi's most significant action that he took was. Like what really was his moment, you think. Once you do that, then what we're really going to be taking a look at primarily, and where I'm going to spend this recording looking at, is the once independence is going to be that course has set, right? That is going to be occurring. What happens from that point? And that is what we're going to look at here, which is the partition of India into two countries, which is Pakistan and India itself. So this really does give us another lens. So kind of like how on our lesson on Wednesday we looked at the choices that the French made around Algeria. Really, here we do get to see one of the alternative approaches to independence that is going to be taken in this case by the British, and so we're really going to be able to see some of the really different effects that can happen when two different kind of courses are really embarked upon. So let's dive right into it. So when World War II ends, basically, again, just as a quick reminder, World War I and World War II were these just extreme catalysts for across the world for independence movements popping up in the wake of colonialism. World War I and World War II helping to motivate that. Once we look and begin to look at India, you kind of understand how complicated the movement for independence is going to be. And that is because, simply put, like, India just has, compared to even like a country like Algeria, which we looked at last lesson, which does have quite a bit of ethnic and religious and, other kind of forms of diversity. India is like that, but even more intensely so. And there are, politically speaking, there have even been other, even more variety of groups there that have been pushing for independence. And so I've given you a map of them down here because this kind of helps explain it a little bit better than I probably could. And so you have what really are, I would say, three primary groups that are pushing for Indian independence and broadly speaking, Indian nationalism. And so you have the Indian National Congress. You can see them right here. They do have some kind of parts to them that we're not going to go into here for the sake of time. We have another group called the Muslim League, because India's second most significant ethnic group is people who are Muslim. And then we also have a small but significant communist party that's in India as well. And really, those two main voices, the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League, there are very, very divergent views about how independence should occur, right? We have Gandhi's take on it. Gandhi would probably more or less align into kind of like the Indian National Congress group. But, is this going to be something that should be violently pushed for, non-violent? Should it be, kind of a united political effort between the two? And there's all these different tensions that are in present. You have groups that are arguing that independence should be taken, like when it does happen, that different provinces should have more control versus like a single solitary unified state. You have the religious divide between Hindus and Muslims in India, and then you also have like this idea that you know not just necessarily religiously speaking, but for all these different groups, whether it's people who are Hindu and Muslim, but then also like folks who are Sikh, like should there be more opportunities for self-determination, or should this kind of be this kind of should they have this vision for like a unified Indian state, right? And so with all of these kind of tensions going back and forth, the really tough part that we're going to see here is that all of these ethnic and religious and political divides are going to make creating a unified country, or countries plural, really difficult after World War II. So here's one map that you can look at that's kind of a good example of this. So this is looking at the religious breakdown of the percentage of population of Muslims in India. Okay, so you can see mostly concentrated in the northwest and also in the northeast. Okay. This is another one looking at both Christians and Sikhs, both of which have significant populations. Sikhs if you kind of look here in the northern part of India, there is a certain part of India that they will claim as kind of their ancestral homeland. And then here's again a breakdown of Hindus. So again, something to realize here is that despite, for example, that Muslims live in a really, concentrated pockets up here in the northwest and the northeast, there's Hindus that live there too, right? And vice versa. So you can start to see here that some of these borders, and this is kind of what I'm trying to hope you understand here when you look at this and answer this on Pear Deck, is that even if you wanted to create a unified country, the mixing here is it's not it's not something that's going to be able to be done, cleanly if you were wanting to divide something up, right? There's going to be a lot of overlap, things do not, just like how people operate in real life, we don't tend to be like that clean cut when we divide ourselves demographically, right? Things tend to be messy and mixed up. We have lots of shades of gray, right? So the eventual plan then that, kind of what happens here is that all those varying groups that I just discussed there, they will basically go to the British and they will lobby for what they want in independence. And then eventually basically what just happened is the British just make a decision that they are going to split India into two countries. India for a predominantly Hindu majority, and then Pakistan for a Muslim majority. And they basically sit down, they draw some lines on a map, and that's what happens. And the lines drawn leave Muslims and Hindus across the board on the wrong side of those respective borders. So I'll go ahead and show you here on a map what that looks like. So you can see this kind of like dotted line right here that is kind of going across, the eastern part of what will be Pakistan. And then you also have this other portion here, East Pakistan, and then Kashmir. This disputed area we can set aside for another time simply because we don't have the time here to get into it. But this line that is drawn by the British across the map, it is not clean. And when that decision is made and the British, obviously, communicate this down to India that this is the plan, the amount of personal displacement and disruption, and that's using very nice words for it, is just absolutely brutal. There is mass violence, as it says here, displacement, rape, destruction, just sheer pandemonium and chaos as different groups. So for example, if you're Muslim and living in India and you're on the wrong side, trying to get over to Pakistan where you might feel safe, with other neighbors that are more like you or look like you. Same for for Hindus that live in Pakistan. And in all of this chaos, over 1 million people die in the partition of India. Now, this not just because of the of this event, but generally because of this history then that will happen between Pakistan and India and their particular backgrounds. is that this is going to develop a really intense rivalry between these countries, and eventually they both are going to become nuclear powers, which really ups the ante too. And so, this politically, like this area of who owns Kashmir, for example, will become, like another thing that is fought over. And so this just becomes a really, you can see this really, really terrible example of how post-colonialism is handled. So what you're going to do here, there's a video I'd like you to watch of this so you can better understand what this looks like on the ground. You're going to write 2 effects of it, post it here on Pear Deck, and then you are done with the lesson. And that's it. Alrighty? So other than that, I will see you guys in our next lesson. We're going to be taking a short trip to look at the Vietnam War. Alright, see you later.